And welcome everyone to episode 135 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju number 8. And actually, speaking of Dragon Ball Super, we got a little bit of a, there was some kind of, internet talk show thing about the future Dragon Ball or whatever. Basically, Toyotaro said that I think he might be bringing the manga back. So
okay, that's you know what, I'm glad to some degree just because let him spread his wings.
Yeah, I really feel like this will be him coming into his own. I mean, and I feel like people have been saying that for the entirety of the Super manga's run, but this really, for like it or not, that's what it is. But I also feel like I really respect that he's willing to come back, after losing his mentor and friend. So
yeah,
that's not nothing.
It isn't. It means a lot. There's a lot more pressure there all of a sudden, but
yeah, more stories to tell.
He'll rise to the occasion.
Yeah. I'm in whatever form Dragon Ball Super comes back, and if they can kind of figure out the kind of crazy corporate politics that have been happening around it, then we'll see. Toyotaro was saying that publicly. That was the first I had heard of it. I don't really have any sort of inside info on those sorts of things. So I was like, oh, okay. Cool.
Well, yeah, that's nice. We'll see if what happens. But honestly, this should be an interesting discussion for the two of us because this is the first time in a very long time, if maybe ever, that as at least going into these set of chapters, we're kind of split.
I'll just straight up, this is the most bored I've ever been reading One Piece for this podcast. It was a struggle for me to read these chapters. I was just not engaged, and it was just, I have never felt this way. I love One Piece, and I've been loving rereading the manga for this podcast. I've been loving all of the current stuff, following the manga, quote unquote, weekly. So it is weird to just hit a stretch of the story where I'm just none of this lands for me.
Which is fascinating because not all of it is landing for me, but I think it's definitely hitting for me more often than it is for you. And if I had to pick out anything, this is almost a One Piece greatest hits arc. And I think
it does feel like that.
That might be where you're getting bogged down, is nothing feels new. Yeah,
nothing feels new. There's no tension really, despite things happening. It is sort of portrayed with a level of just kind of whatever. It doesn't feel like even the Straw Hats are kind of invested. It doesn't really feel like some of the other characters we meet are. It's all just kind of very laid back, which I feel like isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do feel like for this kind of story that they're clearly trying to tell, there's sort of an incongruous incompatibility, kind of I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, let's do that and get into chapter 611, Hody Jones. And hey, we got Karoo figure skating with penguins to finish it off. And you know what? That's much more wholesome than when we had Vivi.
He's got great form.
He really does.
Also not degrading.
Amazing how much that helps. Yeah. So we begin the chapter with going into the Fishman district, where a bunch of pirates are trying to escape very quietly. Just get the heck out of there. They get in their ship, they take off, and basically forget the Mermaid Cafe. We're not going near Fishman Island ever again.
Not the Mermaid Cafe.
And this is when we meet Crab Hand Gyro with a bounty of 73 million.
73 million, and he made it all the way down here, which is wild. Also, I do you kind of look at this guy and you're like, why on earth does he have a crab hand? I do think it is a neat little bit of visual storytelling, even if it's basically, he's fodder.
Yeah, he's absolutely fodder, but there it is. It's basically they're showing the other side of if when Luffy was presented with that choice, basically join us or die. And these guys, of course, did the join us, but they're trying to escape. And that's when we meet Hody's crew. All of them are just executives, like they're all like sort of evened out. And you do have some pretty interesting designs. We got Dosun, the hammerhead shark, Zio, the wabagong shark, Daruma, the cookie cutter shark, all shark men, very interestingly enough. I don't know if I picked up on that one. Hody is great white shark, and then Ikaros Much is giant squid.
I do have to shout out, as much as I have my feelings about Hody Jones is a cool name.
Yeah. Gotta give it up for that one. I gotta say though, his design for being a great white shark, he doesn't feel threatening.
Yeah, that I don't really. Honestly, these guys feel less threatening than even like Arlong's crew, and I feel like even though they all have like these weird, wild, exaggerated shapes, but they don't feel as I don't know if I'm gonna remember any of these guys by the end of the arc.
The only one that might stick out to me is Zio, the wabagong, and I think that's because of the stripes. Because that is striking. Although, because of his the little fish things, the little tendrils at his mouth, he's kind of like evil Dr. Zoidberg from Futurama.
Yes. That makes me almost wonder if the English dub did anything with that.
It'd be really funny. I kind of doubt it, but it'd be really funny. Also, gotta love the visual pun of the hammerhead shark wielding a giant hammer.
Oh yes, of course.
You got to. But basically, they're just all saying, how dare they run off from us? We're going to take care of them. Hody's going to go himself, pops a bunch of pills, even though there's one guy saying you're taking too many, and his eyes go wide. And
if you thought the American gangster culture allegory wasn't obvious enough, we got drugs.
We got drugs. That's no good. Although I will say the his mouth when he opens it up is like, ooh, that is freaky.
Yeah, it is a little freaky.
Enough of Hody for now. It's time to see how the Straw Hats are doing as they go to the criminal brand and see what the store is like, see what Papagoo's house is like. He's a celebrity.
And I love we kind of arrive here with Nami in her natural habitat. She's trying to haggle the store clerk. Give you 10,000 berries, that's less than half.
And she's just like, oh, hi. She's just completely non-bothered. And I do like this joke is like, hey, you saved us 2 years ago. We owe you big time. So, take whatever you want for free. For free? Really? And all of them are just loaded up. They took everything.
The whole shop. Yep.
Just don't hold back. I'm like,
that was a good cut.
That's a good gag at least.
Yeah.
I love how Cammy's just like, yeah, good for you. But there's a commotion outside as they're seeing a whale coming from a Ryugu castle. Something's up. Something's descending, and it's definitely got the people talking. They're freaking out because it turns out it's actually King Neptune. And his pet whale, Ho, or Hoe. Yes.
I'm not actually sure which one it is.
But he is massive. One huge merman. And Luffy just comments, what a hairy guy. I know, right?
Yeah. We're under the sea. Anybody here could pass for a SpongeBob character from the right angle, but King Neptune for sure has those vibes. But yeah, of course, naturally, they're like, oh, you must bow to him, but yeah, the Luffy.
All of them are just nonplussed by it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's when they spot that, like, they talks to this shark in the t-shirt. It's like, hey, Megalo, are you sure they're the ones? It's like, wait, didn't we see him somewhere? It's like, I invite you to Ryugu Castle. It's like, what? Oh my God. Of course, Cammy's freak out face. So yeah, turns out they got an invite. Nice on them.
Yeah, we just met him right off the bat, and it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, very nice. But we go back to oh gosh, I've already forgotten the father's name, Gyro's ship.
Yeah.
As they're like, row faster, we got to get out of here. We can't ride the currents. It's too tough. And like, oh God, there's Hody. But why does he have handcuffs on?
That is kind of a fun,
flex.
He's just doing it. Yeah, he's doing it to flex. He's doing it to style on him, which I can appreciate.
Yeah. And we get some details from the other members of the crew where the pills that he popped, they're energy steroids, the power drug. So they've just increased his power a lot.
Kind of understated, I feel like. I feel like I was expecting something more fantastical, right? No, it's just like, no, they're energy steroids. It's just drugs.
I think it does kind of take away from the threat of Hody in a weird way, in a roundabout way, because, we saw how strong Arlong was without these drugs. We have no concept of how strong Hody is.
Yeah.
And he just powers up right away to take out this crew that really doesn't seem to be that bad, and especially since they're underwater.
Yeah, they took out some humans who are underwater, with a crew of 79 million berries.
Yeah, I mean, it is the usual wild fishman way how the Hody is, like, literally has a dude in his mouth at one point, is just chomping through everything. And all we have is the explanation that fishmen are 10 times as strong as humans, but a single dose of these energy steroids will double that strength. 2 pills will double it again. And the price of that increase...
the buff stack.
I know, that's not good. And the price of that increased power is the shortening of our lives, but that won't stop us from putting our plan into action. So there's, obviously a downgrade, but again, it puts to mind that this isn't a good plan, Hody. These guys aren't exactly anything major. And you popped, 5 or 6 pills to take them on? 4 pills, it looks like? So he quadrupled his strength for no reason.
An observation I didn't have while reading, but had just now, is like, as they kind of say here, like, they're going to carry on Arlong's will. They allude to it later. Like, basically, they're the next generation after Arlong. So you could say that, like, Hody and his folks are, like, inexperienced, right? Mm-hmm. I guess compared to Arlong. But... And I guess that's really the only kind of excuse I have for kind of some of their boneheaded decisions, and the kind of, there's a lot of really, like, kind of rash thinking, and I keep thinking of on TV tropes, so they kind of call it like the idiot ball. It feels like a lot of active characters in the set of chapters just have the idiot ball.
Well, I mean, the thing for them that you can sort of look at it like the young mafioso doesn't know what he's getting into, has no respect.
Yeah, for sure.
That's sort of what they're getting into, even though Hody looks older than Arlong, weirdly enough.
He does, which is what confuses me, I think. And definitely, like...
Because he isn't. He's definitely younger.
Yeah, I definitely think... Maybe this will become more clear as we keep reading, but I don't think I really internalized it until reading for this podcast. I was like, all right, yeah, like, the whole point is that Hody is kind of the heir apparent, basically, of the Arlong's will, if you will, which I mean, also it does kind of carry on to the themes of the series in its own way, but, like, I think, again, as we'll see more of this as we go along, but there is kind of this feeling of, like, they're fighting I don't know if I want to say noble cause, but, like, you understand why they feel the way that they do, just, like, about, fishermen and their role in society and how they're treated by humans, and the way they're even talking in here in this scene, like, the humans are responsible for Fisher Tiger's death. So that's kind of their driving force. But, like, they're in the right in that sense, but then they're just so, like, cartoonishly evil and cartoonishly extreme that it sort of undermines the whole point.
Yeah, I mean, they're so full of piss and vinegar, as it was, that they're basically trying to, like, hey, here's Oda laying out the threat. We're gonna take down Neptune, and then actually go to war with the humans. Which, knowing what we know of the humans, this is a really bad idea.
He's a stupid Koza.
Yes,
that's what Hody is. I think the more I let this sit, the more that it kind of bothered me that there's a lot of nuance with sort of the kind of racial relations, not just between the fishmen and the humans, but kind of this intra-fishman, merman culture. Mm-hmm. And in this sort of, like, nuanced kind of racial, history of discrimination, all that, here, like, our representative of that is, like, kind of a walking, talking cartoon villain. We'll see if I still feel this way by the end, but it does feel like it is kind of undermining the theme a little bit by having the other side be so cartoonishly stupid.
But I think that I think them being stupid is also kind of the point.
It is, yeah, certainly,
as we'll see by the end of the set. But we'll see how that evolves as we let's go ahead and move on to chapter 612, Taken by the Shark They Saved.
That was the end of the chapter. I didn't realize.
Yeah, that was the end. That's just, are we declared what we're going to do, and that's the end? Yep. And time for the next one as we get a 2-page spread of, honestly, one of the more panicked ones for them, where they're just dealing with sharks.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really have much to say about that one.
It's fun. I kind of like that. It's kind of like widescreen, kind of ultra wide aspect ratio.
I wonder if he's going for a bit of a Jaws pastiche.
Oh, that's a good observation.
Especially with the giant one and freaking Brooke and chomp down. I don't know, but we start with a flashback to a few hours ago when we see the really dumb mermaid who is like trying to check out that barrel from the Straw Hats.
And not only that,
ship.
she's really trying to get in there. She's like,
yeah,
trying to break it apart.
She's just like, oh man, you think it'd be in a chest, but there must be something really precious. So maybe wine. So like, we're gonna steal some wine. We're gonna get crunk. That's what it's all about.
It is kind of weird that they were also like, man, these Straw Hats are such nice people. Let's steal their stuff.
I guess so.
Because this whole section, it feels like, as we'll start to see, like they're kind of like the folks of Fishman Island are like questioning if they should trust the Straw Hats or not. And I feel like that's also like, well, all these poor mermaids disappeared because they opened up Pandora's box.
Yeah, because out comes Caribou, and we learn that he ate the swamp fruit and captures the 3 mermaids around him because apparently he's able to keep them in his body.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, his body is bottomless, and he just keeps them all there. It's like, what?
The imagery too is also just like, oh boy.
Oh, it's so goopy. Especially like you see his, like when they're getting dragged in, you see his feet at the bottom, and each time like they're going into like his
weird
distended stomach, as it were. Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, no, it's. You see why I hate this guy?
Yeah, he's back to being kind of a threat or definitely a pain, but yeah, because he's captured 3 mermaids, so he's like, all right, off to go sell them. Basically, this all worked out for me.
What bothers me also a lot about this, as we see kind of immediately on the next page, is the Straw Hats all get blamed for this, for the missing mermaids, and nobody puts on their thinking cap, and nobody kind of stops to ask like, hey, do you know anything about this? And they all just assume. I understand that like they have a history of, they sort of explain like they would have good reason to, kidnap mermaids. And, like this, I understand that this is a society that has been like kind of ravaged and scarred by pirates in the past.
They've even made a point of like, they could be really nice and then they just turn around on us.
I was waiting for somebody to have a conversation with somebody else to be like, hey, do you know anything about this? But it is just kind of left to be assumed. Oh no, they're bad.
Yeah. And
I found that very frustrating.
Expanded because we also have Charlie here that they're going to bring ruin, and she's always right with her visions. So it's just like we have this circumstantial evidence, but we also have this more direct circumstantial evidence, to be fair. But
I think I find the combination of these two things being the driving force behind kind of like the conflict on the Straw Hat side of things. I think it's really stupid. I'm sorry. It makes them come off as really incompetent. The people of Fishman Island. It's
forced.
It's forced. Yeah, it's one of those inconveniences that just feels like I don't know. Like it's weirdly sloppy. I haven't ever thought in One Piece like that there would ever be a situation like this could all be resolved if like 2 characters just like sat down and talked to each other. Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm just kind of not at a point where I can really kind of set that aside.
Because the thing is, they're not there, so obviously they can't talk to anybody at that moment, so it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But it's also interesting that Charlie's running after them when she still has Sanji and Chopper in her shop in the Mermaid Cafe. So
right, yeah, it kind of lends this whole situation like a sense of kind of sort of urgency, but not really.
Yeah, especially because when we're with the Straw Hats, they're just sort of taking it easy because it turns out they got invited by Neptune to the palace because the shark they saved from the Kraken belongs to the princess.
This whole thing feels very, very video gamey. The sort of you kind of do a side quest on the way, and here's your reward for it. I'm not complaining, but I just thought it was funny how very Dragon Questy it felt.
Yeah, a bit. I did enjoy like Papa Gooby's like oh, so that's the mermaid princess's pad and all that. It's like, wait, I thought you said you were best friends. Like shh.
Oh, yes, of course. I do kind of like that. Papa Goo has gotten into the situation by lying.
Yep, and the jokes are on point. This set. The storyline might be suffering a bit, but I think the jokes are definitely landing.
There are a few, yeah. I do like this bit where they like, oh, Zoro's already there, or he's like, oh, one of your friends is already there, and he started drinking, and they're like, I didn't know his name. He's like, oh, it's Zoro, definitely Zoro. Yes, his name is Zori.
I like that Neptune's just a little off.
Yeah. As much as I complain about the lack of tension, I do like that Neptune himself is pretty chill.
But we learn what happened to Frankie and Robin, thanks to Nami. Turns out Frankie's looking for the family of someone called Tom, which I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
That completely caught me off guard when I read that. I was like, oh, right, yeah. I guess, I wonder are we going to meet him?
I don't know. I can't remember that whatsoever, but I hope so, because that's awesome.
That's very interesting. And Robin went off to find some sort of historical thing.
Maybe there's a poneglyph here. Who knows?
I feel like that's the only assumption I can make, is that they must have a poneglyph somewhere.
Yeah. So, and we actually get an explanation for why there's sunlight down 30,000 feet for Fishman Island. So it turns out that there's a special sun tree that can transfer light from the surface all the way down here. And essentially, when the sun shines above, it shines down here. When it's dark above, it's dark down here. And it's called the Sun Tree Eve. And I like Usopp's notifications, like, I wonder if it has anything to the connection to the jewel tree atom that the Sunny was made from. So,
as far as I know, these concepts have not come back up again. I feel like they're going to come up again at some point.
It would make sense.
It feels too specific not to. Like the whole Adam and Eve thing. I mean, come on. And we've got Noah now here. Like we're chock full of biblical references at this point. Yeah.
For all we know, these sun trees are what make up the red line.
Yeah, it could be. There's definitely there's some significance here that I can't talk about yet.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea that basically this is the one part underwater that gets sunlight, and that seems to be why that the ancient ancestors of Fishman Island decided to live here, because this was the only place that got light.
Right.
Down in the ocean.
They got light. It also transferred oxygen down, so it oxygenizes the place, and they can survive down here. That
has significance.
So that's cool. I like that we're getting those details that we didn't quite get before that make this place seem a bit more grand, and get this wonderful 2-page spread of Ryugu Castle. And that place is boss as hell.
I thought about, because you mentioned last week about like kind of not really having a good like sense of place when we first got to Fishman Island. This is cool.
Yeah, it is awesome to see, and we can see, thanks to again the explanation of the sun tree, that there's a bigger bubble where everybody else is, and then and the higher bubble is where Ryugu Castle is. So, which
I guess it makes sense, because they are like, oh, King Neptune's coming down, so that's our explanation for that.
We haven't gotten full maps or anything yet, but it does give you a sort of sense of place for all of this, and it's again weekly manga, and there's this much detail in this place.
Yes, it's ridiculous. Yeah, no, these sorts of backgrounds are some of my favorite, where you just you really feel like you could get lost in a place like this. It's great.
Usually in mangas, detail goes down the further it goes on. So
oh goodness.
We get there, and immediately Neptune gets chewed out.
I do kind of like this bit. He gets kind of chewed out by his retainers. They're you left the castle without telling us again, blah blah blah. He's just like, yes, I'll be more careful next time. So you're just like, is he really the king here?
I know, there's like, he's getting scolded so much, and what the heck? It's like, we're getting a little bit more details, like, because they saved Megalo, must provide a feast for our guests. And how is my daughter Shirahoshi doing now? And it's like, well, we just heard that, and he just did a whisper. It's like, well, that's what happens when you don't guard the princess properly and keep her reassured. It's like we're getting just all sort of minute details here, slowly figuring it out. And we get our Minister of the Right and Left. They actually don't have names, I just realized. Just a seahorse merman and a catfish merman.
I wonder if there's like wordplay going on there. I'll have to look that up.
I don't know. They have fun designs, though.
They do have cool design. I like them, but it just now that you point that out, they don't have names. They're just the Minister of the Right, Minister of the Left. I feel like there's something there that I'm not getting.
Yeah, it's a little off, but They also had gotten word from Prince Fukaboshi, who, of course, has been hearing about the kidnapped mermaids, the prophecy, and all the while, Luffy's like, I smell food.
Luffy's gone.
And leaves already. And he discovers a cart being taken to a massive door with all I didn't get this at first. Now rereading is like, oh, that's why.
Yeah,
you see
it's
axes
a cool
and knives and all this other stuff embedded in the walls and like repair jobs.
I'm gonna come back to that. We'll come back to that later, but I want to double back to that in like a couple pages.
So Luffy goes in, is able to just open up these doors with no issue. It's pitch black, and hey, he spots some food, so he starts running towards the food, and things are quite springy where he's at.
Yeah, he's a little bouncy. He's like, wow, there's nothing but coral on this island. It's so soft.
Yeah, he even starts jumping on it like a little trampoline. Once you know what it is, and you look back at what he's jumping on, it's like, oh, Luffy.
Yep.
Because, it turns out that soft coral was Princess Shirahoshi, who is a massive mermaid.
We see the scale right off the bat. So Luffy was bouncing,
bouncing where things bounce.
Yeah, very true. which, to be fair, so right off the bat, I'll say that I'm not a huge fan of Princess Shirahoshi, but I do think this initial scene, at least, where anybody would normally be freaked out. This.
Yeah, you just got this small man jumping on your chest, and it's like, what is that all about?
Here at the end of the chapter is sort of our kind of hint at the bit, which, I might feel a way about, but, this sort of, she, raises suspicion against Luffy. She's like, if you come to kill me too, I'll have you know I'm not afraid of you. I'm the daughter of King Neptune. I'm not afraid. And then just immediate, jump cut. She just starts crying and calling for her father and her brothers. And Luffy's just like, oh, God.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, before we move on, I did want to talk about the door, actually, because it is sort of interesting now that we know that this is Shirahoshi's room, and you kind of, because we don't have the explanation quite yet, but the idea that it's like, it looks kind of menacing, right? Even without all of like the weapons stuck through it, you wouldn't look at those doors and be like, that's somebody's bedroom. It looks like a prison.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And well, there's a bit of a reason for that, as we will discover. So let's go ahead and move on to chapter 613, Mermaid Princess of Shell Tower. And we finally have our next cover story. Sort of. Number 19, Decks of the World, Volume 1, News Coup Across the Seas. And what news are they delivering? The return of the Straw Hats. Although I do have not much to say about it. It's like, ooh, this is good stuff, or could be good stuff. I did notice the fact that they did not translate Mugiwara in the center there.
Yeah, I was focusing on the curvature of the translated text on the newspaper is like fantastic. That's
so complicated. When you really look at it, it's like, oh my God.
That would be very hard for me to do.
Do you think Oda did that himself, or was that actually in the original version, or?
That is I'm mostly sure that is the English letterer.
Wow.
I would be surprised if it was in English.
This is before the tech we have now. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, by this point, which I don't think I mentioned it, the person who letters it now is the same letterer that does it now currently.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We actually, around Impelled Down is where we hit the point where the translator-letterer duo that does it now currently. That's Stephen Paul, the translator, and Vanessa Satone, the letterer. Both two people who I am big fans of.
No wonder, because this is amazing work. Like,
yeah. Yeah, no, Vanessa's the GOAT. She's so good.
Wow. I had no idea, because talk about a steady job.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, don't got to worry about that.
Well, yeah, let's get into the chapter itself, and it's time to properly meet Vanderdecken, because here's Watatsumi, the giant monk, who's a tiger puffer fish man. Okay.
He's just got a big old happy trail.
Yeah, he does. He's just kind of hairy.
A little bit.
Vanderdecken's just calling out to Watatsumi. He's like, did I get an answer yet for my letter to Princess Shirahoshi? Not yet. How many years have I waited for an answer? About 10. Maybe it'll come soon. Nah, it's all Neptune's fault. He's planning to marry her off for political reasons, I think. Why else would he imprison her? We're deeply in love, I think. So I'm going to send this another rose axe her way. And he just tosses it out, and then it curves around, cuts off their mast, and then goes off.
Which is that's a little more of a hint. I mean, well, we definitely don't quite know yet, but there's also like, I mean, he's got really good aim.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, man, he's a little reckless with his aim, but I mean, he's really good with how he aims it. Like, he's just that skilled, apparently.
Yeah.
He, as we learned, is in love with Shirahoshi, and he is come to the decision that they're either going to be married or she's going to die.
Yeah, so we've got we've got a 5-alarm simp alert on our hands here.
Oh yeah. It also turns out he is a fish man, a bullhead shark.
I think it's kind of the combination of things, as we'll see here, but like Vanderdecken kind of being the other half of things here, and his whole thing is that he's just kind of a stupid simp. Again, maybe a little bit deflating, but fantastic design. I do love his design a lot.
It's a fun design. It's a more interesting design than Hody, I think.
Yeah, that's for sure. I get a little bit of he kind of reminds me of Django for some reason.
Oh, that might be the hat and the sort of suit.
Yeah, I kind of the pose. I don't know. Yeah, you know what? I'll save my comments, but yeah,
okay.
He's a guy, for sure.
Either way, we go back to Shirahoshi, who is still crying, and everybody's like, why is she crying? What's going on? Why is anybody by her side? It's like there's a mix-up at the changing of the guards. Like, well, go check on her. And
yes.
And she's calling out for help, and Luffy's just like, come on, stop crying. I'm just a pirate looking for food. Why is she so loud?
What I do like about this does feel like a rare opportunity for like when it comes to character interactions. Like Luffy's kind of on the back foot in this situation. I feel like he's usually the one who annoys other people, but like here in this situation, he's the one who's like, oh god. It's a rare expression, a rare emotion for Luffy to be kind of like, he's still very straightforward with the way that he interacts with Shirahoshi, and I do kind of like their interactions, but yeah, it's rare to see Luffy on the other side of things.
Yeah, and I don't know how long I don't think it lasts too long, because they very much settle into their roles as time goes forward pretty quickly. But turns out Vanderdecken's axe, poor timing on them opening up the doors, because the axe just slips through and is heading straight for Shirahoshi, and Luffy is actually able to catch it before it just embeds itself in her and successfully saves her.
And the way the shot you see kind of land outside, it's just like, oh god.
Yeah. It's like, oh gosh, that was definitely close. And that's definitely enough to kind of convince her, because she kind of just grabs Luffy, hides him behind her back, and it's like, we heard a scream. Are you okay? Did you guys not notice the axe? Do we have an intruder? It's like, no, I just had a bad dream. So she actually covers for Luffy because he saved her.
It's actually quick thinking on her part, and I do like that it establishes that Luffy is at least not an immediate threat, going out of his way to protect her, and it also establishes the reason why the door kind of looks like it's like a hard iron like prison door. It's for her protection.
Yeah,
because Vanderdecken just keeps yeeting axes at her.
And other objects for 10 years. He's been doing this.
Yes.
Good God.
Yeah, no, he's a little crazy.
Yeah, he's a bit dedicated to that simp life, but yeesh. Luffy also learns, as he's being hidden by Shirahoshi from these guards, that Luffy is suspected of kidnapping the missing mermaids, and it said he will bring doom upon the kingdom. So it's been decided that Straw Hat should be imprisoned in the castle dungeons. The swordsman has already been captured, and it won't be long before
Zoro.
The other three. Yeah, so Zoro is here.
They should talk to somebody maybe about that. Yeah, no, I don't like it.
Their 5 minutes are up. We unfortunately have to cancel the banquet for the people who saved Megalo, but we just give you an update. So we'll see you. And that's when, they leave and Megalo's there. It's like, oh, so you're the one who saved Megalo. It's like, so are you a bad person? I don't know. You decide that for yourself. I love that response.
I feel like that's kind of the running theme here.
Yeah.
and that's it, right? Like, I do like with this conversation that you do kind of learn a little bit about how Luffy sees himself, because I do think there's that kind of like, are pirates good or are they bad? And he doesn't care.
I'm just me. I just do what I want.
Yeah, basically.
You decide for yourself. That is sort of the essence of Luffy right there. And of course, he immediately asks, like, okay, what's up with the axe? why is somebody strong enough to do that? That's crazy. And he's like, oh yeah, that's Vanderdecken. He has the Mark curse. So he can hit any target he aims at, and that's why I can't go outside. I can't even leave Shell Tower.
I'm getting ahead of myself because I know the reveal is in this set, but it is a devil fruit.
I wasn't sure at first, but they do confirm it is a devil fruit.
I find it really interesting that they specifically call it a curse, and I wonder if that's like a cultural thing, because a fish man eating a devil fruit sounds stupid.
Yeah.
That's really dumb. Why would you do that?
I distinctly remember us having that conversation. Like, can fishmen, what happens if a fishman eats the devil fruit? And from what I can tell, because it's hard, because it's black and white, it's hard to tell when they're underwater or not, especially when the fishmen are talking to each other. I assume Vanderdecken is not weakened by the water, but he also can't swim.
Yeah.
Like, he can still use his power, I guess is the best way I can put it. He's not limited from using the power, but he also he can never swim. So that's why he has to be on that boat to get anywhere.
Yeah. I guess as long as he's not in water while he's touching someone while his devil fruit is active. I don't know. Maybe thinking about that a little bit too hard, but I do kind of like the idea that, like, even more so than for humans, the idea that devil fruit is a curse to sort of an undersea culture. So I just thought that was kind of cool.
It's quite interesting, and we get this interaction between Shirahoshi and Luffy where, you know, he's eating all of her food, and she's like, man, you are small, but you seem to eat quite a lot.
And that's when we kind of, you know, they talk a bit about, like, oh, you know, she's been in here for 10 years and Megalo is her only friend.
Yeah, I can't even interact with anybody for more than 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah, she's kind of resigned to it, but there is definitely a level of, like, tragedy here.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of interest as well. It's like, so do you have adventures? Have you seen the sun? Have you seen flowers and animals? Have you seen forest filled with greenery? He's like, man, hush, I'm eating, basically. And then she upsets him because he's eating, and she's like, man, you have puffy cheeks, and she pushes in and makes him spit out his food.
Yeah. And then I love that. Well, she starts crying because he got mad at her, and then he's like, why are you crying? Stop that. And then I love that he's like, you're huge, but you're a big weakling and a crybaby. And then you turn the page, he's like, I hate you. That
immediately, like, oh, we're not doing Romance like Dawn just for the name of it. It's like, it really is almost a reset, because hello, new Kobe. So, okay, sure.
Yeah.
It's what I mean by it's almost like a set of greatest hits, because we have the fantastic elements of Skypiea. We got Luffy interacting with a weakling with Kobe and Shirahoshi. We got the return of the Fishmen. Nothing's too original yet.
I think the big one for me here is how this scene ends is very much like immediately Luffy, after kind of hearing Shirahoshi's story, you know, he's just kind of like, is there anywhere that you want to go? He's like, let's just go and take a walk. If anything comes flying at you, I'll just knock it down. And so Luffy has met this person who has had her freedom taken away and is just going to be like, I'm going to give your freedom back to you. I do find that kind of really wonderful and in character.
Absolutely. It's a nice... It encapsulates Luffy yet again. Like, Oda is locked in for what Luffy's character is.
Yeah, and I think it's the matter of, like, again, that Luffy is so honest that he's just like, I hate people like you. But it's also like, you've had your dream taken away, so I'm going to help you kind of realize your dream. So
he hates these weaklings, but he knows that, you know, with a proper push, they can kind of realize their dreams.
Yeah.
But I do love this.
Yes, I do. Yes.
So they tried to capture Brook, Nami, and Usopp, and they failed. Like,
yes,
the weakling trio, well, two of them, with no issues whatsoever, took down these fishmen guards.
I started hooting and hollering at this, honestly, and just the way that they're all kind of like posing back to back, like they look awesome. I love
that's
this.
Boss.
Just seeing Usopp front and center, just suns out, guns out.
Mm-hmm. It's he
cool.
is muscle. He's all get out. It's crazy.
It's very satisfying.
And Cammy's like, you know, don't resist arrest. You only make things worse. It's like, but we didn't do anything, and we don't want to be captured. So, you know, they'll just made up some excuse to arrest us. So we're gonna for what we do in the future. That's not fair. Even Brook's like, all right, Brook finally getting a chance to really show his skills. has that chance and he's taking it out. It's like, all right, I'll fight you to your heart's content if that's what you want. And they're just like bemoaning the fact they don't get to enjoy the banquet and whatnot. They're just trying to explain. It's like, we're only fighting because you attacked us first. So we get Usopp's new black Kabuto weapon, which is more hand-sized. It's not quite as big as the Kabuto.
It's probably just as strong, if not stronger, though. So I guess it's more portable.
Yeah, I think so. And basically, the one of the right-hand men is basically like, hey, Neptune, we kind of need your help with these guys. It's like, well, I don't think people should be imprisoned over prophecy. I want some time to think about it. So let's just catch you for now so I can think about it. I was like, all right, Brook's going to finally get his moment to really stand out. And then here comes Zoro being like, nope, I'm stealing it from you. I'm like, damn it, Zoro.
Yeah, I thought you were in jail. I heard you guys are having fun, so I broke out. Which, again, really, this whole scene, I feel like, it does Neptune and his sort of royal guard. I feel like it really makes them feel stupid, and I don't like that. I don't really love... And it's more, again, just that the excuse is so flimsy. And I understand that they want to be cautious after everything that they've been through, but I think like the Straw Hats are completely in the right to fight back here, and that there's just like they're not really listening to reason. It comes off as super unreasonable in a way that this could be resolved by a simple conversation. And
it could, but I can also see they've been burned too many times in the past, and again these prophecies are accurate, so I get it. It's annoying because we know the Straw Hats, we know they're not like that, and it doesn't seem like a solid enough excuse to do this all of a sudden.
I also think it could even be more interesting if we didn't see Caribou kidnap the mermaids. That could have been a more interesting mystery potentially if it was like, oh, we don't know what the deal is, and maybe what they're thinking is
just
like,
have that
it's like
one
a misdirection.
That one panel of a mermaid next to the barrel. That's all you need.
Yeah, and I think because Oda showed too much, and because we already know that they're, at least as far as the mermaid thing is concerned, they are innocent. So this whole thing just feels kind of like a complete farce.
It's just sort of a reason to get them in sort of a Water 7 situation. Yeah.
I understand. Like they're kind of. This is our way to get the Straw Hats, to kind of get them on the back foot a little bit. But like I said before, it's kind of uncharacteristically sloppy. I feel like it really does feel just like we need them to be here for this reason, so we're gonna kind of fudge it.
Yeah. But we end off the chapter with the meeting between Vanderdecken and Hody Jones, and Vanderdecken actually makes a point of wearing a glove before he handshakes with Hody, which we learn later why that is. I think you can sort of assume.
Yeah, although I kind of thought at first that he was just kind of a neat freak.
It could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the two of them are going to work together to take on Neptune's army and take out Neptune. So tension's ramping up, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, maybe if I liked either of these villains, I'd be like, oh boy. But I'm not really sold by either of them.
Like Vanderdecken definitely has an interesting power, but Luffy's already deflected it without even knowing what it's all about.
And I think,
and then Hody used the pills too soon.
Yeah, and then a lot of them. So it just, I feel like we already kind of know how this is going to go. And I don't necessarily need, like, I think you can have a villain that's kind of imposing and interesting without being, like, kind of physically powerful in that sense. But I think they're just the wrong combination of, like, stupid and not that strong, and their plans don't really make that much sense.
You're kind of getting the worst elements of the East Blue villains kind of mixed in.
Yeah.
Because, it just again, we knew Luffy was stronger than them at that point. Like, Buggy's not a threat, and all the others not really a threat.
Yeah. Even though I know that there is obviously more to the kind of, like, socio-political history going on here, like, this, it feels very surface level. Just, again, like, I think the POV point being Hody and Vanderdecken is kind of, at least for right now, kind of my issue with this, because I'm kind of, I'm not really feeling it.
I can see that. Like I said, I'm enjoying the setup for it. I think that's where I'm finding myself positive, is that we're finally getting some of the interesting aspects. We got some of the crazy like we're getting into the like, crazy things are happening for the Straw Hats again. So getting to that. Well, let's see how it continues as we get to chapter 614, Too Late Now. And we get to see Windmill Village's reaction to Luffy being back.
Yeah, and Makino had a baby.
Yeah, I wonder if that was her baby, and it's confirmed in SBS later on.
I didn't realize, because at first I thought they were cheering for her having a baby, so I was like, why is the mayor he's so perstickety? But I think he's reading the newspaper about Luffy.
Everybody's cheering about that.
Yeah.
I wonder who got who hooked up with her. Even Oda doesn't confirm.
Yeah. A lady must keep her secrets.
I guess so. The father could be any one of those background guys. Who knows? But
yeah.
You know what? I'm going to claim it's Shanks.
Oh my.
He hung out at the bar quite a bit. Why not?
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway, we get back into it with what's going on at the palace, and everybody's just like, oh, this is too much. You've gone too far. We went to scare them and find an opening to run away, and it turns out, they've captured all of them. The Straw Hats have captured every single one of them, including Neptune.
I do like that he's just chained up completely. They were defending themselves. That is true, but this is now a little bit of a crime. This is a little bit illegal. I do also like that. Again, so I've been kind of critical in terms of, we're here in the time skip 2 years later, pointing out how much Usopp has grown. I think this, where he's just like, I wanted to scare them and find an opening to run away. It doesn't feel like he's saying that because he's scared. It feels like he's saying that because it's kind of like it's kind of the smart thing to do in the situation. I actually really appreciate it because from my memories, I don't know if it was this or something else later in particular that had me feeling like, I'm kind of disappointed. But like, so far, I'm Usopp being kind of like the sensible one without being like, oh God, I'm so in over my head here. It doesn't, like, his confidence in his growth hasn't been undermined.
Yeah.
Although in these panels, his muscles are gone.
There's a few times, like, it's only... He's not flexing.
yeah, exactly. I'll accept that.
But again, there's some really good gags here, like Nami trying to find out where the treasure chamber is and acting all innocent. It's like
I love that face she makes when Usopp tells her to stop. She just turns around and is like, "Huh? Why?" She just has that look in her face.
The other fishmen are asking if Neptune's all right. It's like, well, I have a bad back and I can't fight. I'm getting old. Sorry.
Wow. Excuses.
They're just like, hey, you'll be in trouble when the three great princes show up. So we'll take care of you. We wouldn't have had a chance if the castle was submerged. But oh well.
Yeah, I do kind of like there's this interesting wrinkle too, where because Zoro's just like, where's the Sunny? We need to get everybody and go. But Nami kind of points out like the log pose has been acting strangely, and we don't have an explanation for it yet. But it seems like we kind of can't leave even if we wanted to.
Yeah, apparently you can't navigate the new world with that log pose, which, even more wrinkles for the new world.
Yeah, I love that. I forget if it's the right or the left, but he's like, untie me and I tell you. Yeah, the catfish one. He's like, untie me and I'll tell you. So I guess we're just gonna have to put a pin in that one for now.
Yeah, definitely seems like it, because turns out the princes are here and they're trying to enter the palace through the entrance in the bottom. Turns out, it's a bit of an incident because like, why aren't you opening up? It's like, yeah, we can't do that. It's like, what? Okay, which one of the Straw Hats are you? It's like, no. That's Zori, the pirate hunter. It's like, no, it's Zoro.
Yes. They'll get it eventually.
And Zoro just sort of goes into hostage negotiation territory. It's like, all right, we got hostages. One of them's your king. If you want him back alive, you do what we say. We need a new coating for our ship, the Sunny. Then we'll need the rest of our crew. 1 dark woman, 1 robot, 1 raccoon dog, and 1 perverted troll, which makes Brooke crack up.
Yeah, I love that. Nami's like, ask them for 1 billion berries too. So, at least in this chapter, the Straw Hat character interactions this feels the most on point ever since we've got them back together. Yes.
Zoro's pragmatic, like he's not wrong, but it also feels wrong. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I guess is kind of the thing at the end of the day, right? Like nobody's really wrong in the situation, but I can see there being some kind of intention in that of kind of not wanting, because this is sort of a situation where it is just one big misunderstanding, but I really feel like that misunderstanding kind of comes at the cost of having the fishman side of things come across as really incompetent. And maybe the Straw Hats are kind of...
I guess it gets across the whole idea about miscommunication leading to issues.
That is true, which I guess is kind of the big theme.
Basically, Princess is like, okay, we have no choice. We'll take care of this. The other sections of Ryugu is protected by countless layers, so we're not going to be able to get through. We'll do this, and I am reluctant, but I did make a promise to Jinbei, who we all very much respect. Like, everybody's respecting Jinbei. Left 2 messages for Straw Hat. First, do not fight Hody. Second, I await you in the forest of the sea. And I'm very curious about the whole don't fight Hody thing. What's that about?
I don't... yeah, good luck with that, Jinbei.
Yeah, pretty much. We go back to the True Fishman Island section, and they're all learning what's going on with the Straw Hats. And yeah, they're trying to capture Chopper and Sanji.
Right, yeah, because they're in the cafe.
And I forgot about this form. Is this a new form or a redesign for one of the old forms? Because good God, I hate it.
I don't remember, actually.
It's called the Kung Fu Point, which is a new one. It's not Arm Point or anything like that. So
right, yeah, I think this is new. Yeah, it's garbage. It's straight up. I think this might be the worst one. I guess it's all uphill from here in that sense, but yeah, no, it's bad. I genuinely dislike this one. It's horrible. I
think Oda wanted to look goofy, but he went way too far. This just looks grotesque.
Yeah. It's not even like kind of like an ugly cute. Like it's just ugly. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like in a way that I never really had a feeling about like Chopper's kind of like transformations in the past pre-time skip. Like they're all, like functional and fine. Like they all look like how they should.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this one is just it's a complete dud for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Although the one saving grace is in the anime, you get to hear Ikue Otani do Bruce Lee noises.
Okay. Fair. But Sanji's also up fighting, and he's ready to go see the Mermaid Princess, which...
even if it kills him.
He will die. No doubt about it. He almost died from just being nestled between a normal pair. That would kill him.
No. Oh dear. Yeah. That's a good point.
But back in Shirahoshi's shell tower, basically just like, okay, let's go outside. It's like, well, where do you want to go? Well, I want to go to the forest of the sea.
Oh,
that works out.
That's where Jinbei is. So let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You've been in here for 10 years, so let's go. It's like, but and then of course she immediately backs out. I only said it because it's only a dream. I could never go outside. It's like, oh, come on, just come with me and stop. Which again makes her even more of a crybaby and like, oh man, you're a real pain. I'm a pain.
Yeah,
like that's how sheltered this poor girl is.
Yeah. No, and I could I do get kind of sick of this bit because it is kind of grating after a little while, but it is also fun. Like that Luffy is sort of slowly losing his patience.
Yeah, I'm not tired of it yet. I'll say that. I did not immediately become like I was with Sanji.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Turns out there's something crazy going on though. There's just a bunch of like thuds against the palace, and they're just like, what's going on here? Is it's like Vanderdecken raining spears on us? This is Neptune saying, "Hey pirates, I need you to see the princess is safe because her safety is above all else right now. Someone's trying to kill her, and if anything happens to her, I will pursue you to the darkest depths of the ocean." Like, this is serious.
It's serious. Although it's cool that he still, even though they tied him up, he's just like, go check out my daughter. Rather you than them.
So like, you're trustworthy-ish.
You know what? I feel like that's very telling.
Yeah. And of course, Brooke hearing this is like, Mermaid Princess, I'll go check on her and I'll protect her. And it's like, I love how he also says, it's like, I got you beat, Sanji.
Yeah. I did laugh at this, but I think just because Shirahoshi's just a little bit too child-coded for me to make that joke funny, the sort of pervy old man thing in the way that Brooke's just like, oh, you want to see too. Just like, okay, all right.
I mean, the only thing that makes me not roll my eyes at it is that he has no idea.
That is true.
If you heard Mermaid Princess locked in a tower for 10 years, you're going to assume older.
And again, I have no idea how old she is, but it's more of a portrayal kind of thing.
Yes. And yeah, she's extremely childish, but that's because she's been locked up for how long. It's just the way it is. But she's literally crying tears of joy because she's so happy to actually get a chance to go out and be protected by Luffy. but he has a plan to keep her hidden. Brooke gets there to check, and all around the tower are a bunch of human pirates just embedded in the wall and bloodied up. It's like, what?
I did not know what this was.
I didn't either, but
I was just like, Jesus Christ. That's
like,
dark.
Yeah, it is. That's one way for them to get in there, but turns out not to matter because they burst out of the room with Shirahoshi hiding inside of Megalo.
And then Luffy's on top inside of a bubble.
That is insane.
That is his master plan.
Poor Megalo. Poor Shirahoshi.
Yeah, no, this whole situation has just evolved into chaos.
That is the Luffy way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's moments like that where it's so ridiculous that I'm kind of okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it makes it fun. But let's get to the final chapter of this set, chapter 615. Mark Curse. And hey, we get to see what the Don's up to. And I love how they're wearing Straw Hat Luffy merch. Yeah.
They're all rooting for him. This feels very just like hometownsy, you know?
It really does. Like, that's a proud mama.
Yeah, exactly. Our small town boys become a celebrity.
And I love how she has file folders over on the sides. Like, here's Ace, here's Luffy, here's Ace.
I wonder if those are like picture albums or like wanted posters.
I'm guessing news articles and stuff like that.
Where they just keep them away. Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Oh, that's adorable.
Right? Again, proud mama.
Yeah, no, really.
We get to the chapter itself. Megalo is still making his escape. Like the seahorse prime minister is asking, like, wait, Megalo, where are you going? And Shirahoshi's just sort of has her eyes closed. It's like, I'm going out without permission, but I'll be back in time for dinner. So I'm sorry. So it's like, hey, let's go take a walk. And that's it. They're out of the situation.
They're gone. And then, of course, they get there. Brooke and the other guys just like, oh, she's gone.
Which just shocking to everybody. It's like, she's been kidnapped. This is terrible. It's a national emergency. And that's when Brooke realizes that, hey, one of the pirates here is actually trying to attack us. What's going on here? And they're looking for a switch that opens up the passageway. And if they don't do it, they're dead men.
They're yeah. Well, I mean... It doesn't look like they're particularly looking alive. That's for sure.
They're definitely in bad shape. And we cut from that and go back to Chopper and Sanji, who's still proceeding to clobber all the soldiers.
Yeah.
Because, again, they want to capture them.
Well, we tried.
Yeah, it's communication is completely broken down at this point.
Yeah.
But I do like how Chopper's all happy. He's like, oh, that Kung Fu wasn't pretty impressive. Like, I'm not proud of that, but he's all happy-go-lucky.
Yes, and of course, while he's swooning, we need a doctor.
And complete shift in tone. It's Hachi embedded with a ton of arrows. It's like, oh, good God.
What on earth happened?
Poor Hachi cannot get a break.
Yeah, he really can't.
Fortunately, Chopper's there now. Is like, we'll patch you up. But Hachi's immediately saying, it's better if you guys don't get involved with Fishman Island. We need you to leave now because the new Fishman pirates are about to invade, and the kingdom of Ryugu will be laid to waste.
It sounds like things are moving kind of faster than you'd expect. Like they're basically, all right, time to set our plan into motion.
Yeah, they're basically just like, okay, we're ready. We're just happy to be there at the time where it's like ready. It's like there's not really any setup for why it's now. It's just now, and I think that might be another weakness to it where you kind of got a sense for, like, again, in Skypiea, you can understand why it was happening now because the Straw Hats truly did disrupt things, but the Straw Hats just seem to be here by coincidence.
It feels a little arbitrary. And I feel like, as we'll kind of see, like, I feel like Hody's motivation for this whole thing, it feels really, like, kind of slapdash, right? I don't know. It feels, obviously, he wants the power and recognition and to be kind of acknowledged. He thinks Neptune's too weak, so he's like, I'm going to take over. It feels like he's just kind of, it's bluster.
Yeah, it's bluster, and again, it's just happenstance that the Straw Hats are here. And again, there's been happenstance in the past with the Straw Hats. It's like complete happenstance that the massive storm that happened at Water 7. Mm-hmm. You never know. Just complete happenstance that they got the perfect lineup in order to get up to Skypiea. But, that's all more nature type things, so you can kind of buy it. This is just, we're going to attack now.
Yeah, I think it just kind of comes down to, in this situation, sort of the kind of the character motivations just feel it feels sloppy. I'm gonna keep going back to that word, but yeah.
But it's time for that old mafia versus young mafia thing as Hachi comes into the meeting between Vanderdecken and Hody, and it's just like, what are you doing? You guys, this is stupid. Don't do this. These energy steroids will kill all of you. And why do you want to destroy Fishman Island? Why are you doing this? And that's when Hody's like, just again saying, hey, Neptune's standing in the way of proving to humans that we're superior.
You used to be cool, man.
Yeah, exactly. Those were your teachings. It's like, yeah, but Arlong lost.
Right.
And Vanderdecken and Hyozu, why are you here now? You didn't answer Arlong's call years ago, so why are you helping him now? And Hyozu is the swordsman who blocked Luffy's attack before. It's like, Arlong didn't pay me enough. That's all. Which, thank God he didn't, because that seems like he's pretty strong.
That would have been a problem, but also, I guess Vanderdecken or Hody can. He's like, all right, we'll throw down the dosh for it.
Yeah. And in Vanderdecken's case, he didn't want to be a minion to Arlong. He wanted to be equal, and Arlong wasn't having that. And Hody explains, of course, they were all too young when they were wreaking havoc before, but they're grown up now, and I've declared myself Arlong's successor. I will carry on his legacy. You're kind of killing the vibe here, so get lost.
Yeah, basically.
Hachi's just trying to get them to not make the same mistakes he did. It's like, I can't go see my friends if the legacy of Arlong lives on here because they forgave me.
I wonder what he means by that, though. I feel like I don't know what he means by that.
The legacy of Arlong?
That he can't go see them. I don't.
Oh, I think it's because he feels ashamed that other fishmen are still believing Arlong's ideals.
Ah, okay, I could see that.
Because I have no idea if we ever see Arlong again.
I don't know where he is.
I assume he just was captured in East Blue. He's not dead, but he has to be captured in the East Blue and locked up somewhere, but obviously not to impel down. So I have no idea where he is. But yeah, it's time for a proper demonstration of Vanderdecken's powers where he just pats Hachi's back and then sends out a knife, tosses up in the air, and immediately curves around and immediately stabs him in the back.
Yep.
And Hachi's still bandaged up from protecting the Sunny.
Yeah, God, yeah, I'd forgotten about that. So he's really just getting the worst of it. So it seems like Vanderdecken's power functions off of contact.
Yes, which is interesting because somehow he was able to touch Shirahoshi. And that's a good question about how did he pull that one off. Something I'm sure we'll see in the future. And when he sees all the arrows being brought out, even Hachi's like, I'm going to get killed if you do that. So if he does this, Hody, stop him. And Hody's just immediately like, nah, he's not my minion. We're all equals.
Also, interesting wording that he calls it a pirate alliance. That'll come up again.
Oh, okay. Because it was interesting. They were all executives. It wasn't the traditional lineup for pirates, but Hachi has to run for it. Takes off. It's catching up to him. Swims, still catches him. And of course, that's how he gets stabbed in the back and shot with all those arrows. Thankfully, still alive. Thankfully, next to Chopper.
And here's kind of the gross part here where Vanderdecken explains that it's basically he can set two targets, basically, one for each palm of his hand. And so he hasn't washed his right hand since he touched Shirahoshi one time 10 years ago, which is disgusting.
Wow. I kind of glossed over that he can only set two targets. I kind of missed that part. So that's why I was protecting it. I thought it was out of good faith that I'm not going to target you to attack you, that we're on equal footings. But no, it's just so he can always have Shirahoshi.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's... Ugh. But yeah, because of that power, that's why he's able to continue stalking her.
And then this is the kind of messed up part where he's basically, kind of talking to the humans. Hody's talking to the humans that he captured, and he's like, all right, basically, I'm going to yeet you at Ryugu Castle.
Yep. You guys are going to invade and open the way for us, but if you don't, you're going to die because we're using you. Your lives are cheap, worth less than slaves. If you have the tower and survive, fulfill your mission. If you do it well, I'll set you free. But if you refuse, then you're going into the water right now under all that pressure. So that's why they're like that.
Yeah. Again, I was definitely a little frustrated reading this because just I get it. I know, the whole thing is that Hody's just like a misguided zealot. I feel like we know just enough kind of about how the fishmen were treated kind of in the history of this world. So it's like, it makes me wish that this side there
was a bit more layered of a villain.
Yeah. And I know there's some stuff coming up, and like there are more sides to this that I think are kind of more even-handed and more like the nuance that I'm looking for is coming. And I know that it is, and I remember when it's coming. But I think that it's there is one thing, but that sort of our conflict, our kind of POV is through this kind of, we have to make a zealot who is so obviously wrong, even though that, you know, like, but we can't, I don't know. I guess the way that I was thinking about it is like, Hody is like a victim, you know, like he's a victim of the system. And I feel like I want to have some sympathy for that, for how kind of like, just for all of the history of racial tensions, but like instead he's just a kind of a mustache twirling cartoon villain. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's a bit weak, but I think that's just the problem here. It's just a sort of weaker set of chapters, because I totally get your points. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hope I'm not harping on it too much.
I don't think so, and I think, you know, I feel like I'm highlighting the positives of this as best as I can. Where, you know, there is funny moments, and I can see the setup here is like, oh, they're being invaded. Now the miscommunication is going to be cleared up at least somewhat, because now the Straw Hats are going to have to defend the Fishmen from getting attacked by these random pirates, because, well, they don't want to see them get hurt.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to be the like, all right. Because this kind of goes back to when they first got to Fishman Island, and it, like, the guy.
Oh yeah, what's his name that they took out in the No Issue?
yeah, where he was like, so are you our friend or foe? Because like you took out Arlong, which is bad, but you punched the Celestial Dragon, which is good. So there's definitely a kind of like, again, you know, make up your own mind. You know, you got the facts, make up your own choice based on those facts.
Yeah. But the chapter ends with Luffy and Shirahoshi talking about why she wants to go to the Forest of the Sea. And it's because there's a grave there, a grave she's never been able to visit. It's a place she's most wanted to go these last 10 years. And waiting in the Forest of the Sea is, of course, Jinbei.
Michael.
And yep, still there. And all he says is that incident shook Fishman Island 10 years ago, an assassination in broad daylight. The princes have grown to be hardened warriors, and although Shirahoshi is still confined in that tower, none of us have forgotten your ideals, Queen Otahime. So now we know what happened to the mother, and why Shirahoshi might be so protected.
We can assume that it's probably her mom's grave, right?
Yeah, that's very much the case. So we were saying, again, it was set up chapters before, and now we've established some things, but it's also setting up for the actual incident. And we have some interesting splits right now, because we have Nami, Brook, Usopp, and Zoro at the palace. We have Luffy with Shirahoshi. We have Sanji and Chopper, and then we have Frankie and Robin. So how are they all going to play out?
Completely MIA.
Yeah. It's just no idea how this is all going to turn out. And hey, Luffy's going to likely meet Jinbei again soon. So that's cool.
Which I'm excited for that. Seeing Jinbei literally the last panel of the set of 5 chapters where I was just like, oh god, it's good. It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah,
good to see you.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. And there is SBS basically apologizing about the fact that there wasn't a lot of SBSs in the last one, because they stuffed 12 chapters into volume 63.
I think they've started to become more common.
Oh wow!
I feel like we don't really have a hard number. It's hard to keep track when we're using the Jump app, but I feel like the average is usually, like in the past, usually around 8 or 9 chapters per volume. You know, kind of what totals out to about the like 180 page range. If you're getting up into 10, 11, 12 chapters, you know, you're getting into the 200 page volume. You know, 220, 230. I'll have to double check because I have all of the physical.
The chapters have gotten shorter. For a while there, they were about 19, but now they're starting to average out around 17.
Since we're done anyway, but just the most recent chapter of the manga, it hurt me because it was like 14 pages.
Oh
like,
no!
Oh, and it was fantastic, but like it was one of those just like, oh, I read it and I was like, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. You just want more.
Oh.
I still come out mostly positive, but yeah, it's definitely not the strongest set of chapters at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I was able to air my grievances. I feel like we had a good conversation about it. I don't know if I would say I am more or less positive. I don't know if my opinion has really swayed one way or the other, but I do think it is kind of interesting to kind of unpack sort of this stuff. So even though I was like, oh, I don't like this, I was at least, always looking forward to podcasting about it. And, I hope I didn't come off as too miserable. I'm worried about that.
No, I've heard you miserable during movies. This was not miserable.
That's true. That is very true. Yeah. And again, I hopefully, like, there are things in this set of chapters I liked. I really just think in terms of kind of the raw plot and characterization, it gets a little bit too stupid for my tastes, but things are moving along. And I'm actually really excited I think there will be some fun backstory next week to unpack.
I think there's enough elements here to coalesce into something better. Mm-hmm. It just hasn't formed yet. And it's just sort of like almost haphazard-ish ways of getting things to line up as Oda needs them to.
Yeah, I think if I was reading this, like marathoning it, just kind of reading it volume by volume, I maybe wouldn't have really a bat an eye, but I think it was something about this specific set of 5 that just kind of was like, it was kind of a lull and kind of, I think, had...
And I think it would have hit, I remember it hitting kind of hard when I was reading it chapter to chapter back when it first released, because this, I was reading chapter by chapter at this point.
Right.
Yeah, I get you. But,
yeah.
Well, with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 611 to 615 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. Yeah, that's it. Despite all my belly aching, I'm really excited to see what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. And so definitely check him out. And if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 616 to 620 of One Piece. Oh, and there's a 30-minute movie to cover as well with One Piece 3D Straw Hat Chase. We're combining it because the movie's so damn short. So until then, my friends, yay. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Someone so big be such a coward and a crybaby. I don't think I like you.